Welcome to Destination Linux episode 459. I'm your host, Ryan, and today we are officially jacking into the digital frontier. Whether you're listening from the bridge of the Enterprise or you're currently in a training montage trying to reach a power level over 9,000, we're glad you've cleared your cache and joined the crew. Sitting at the controls with me today is the legendary computer historian and our resident animation sensei, Jill. And we have a massive high-tier summon for our guest spot this week. The man making sure Linux gaming is as smooth as Gundam Fight Suit. It is Mathieu from Lutris. Welcome back, Mathieu.
Hello.
And we've got a heavy mission log today, so strap into your EVA units because we're diving into your healthcare data now being under siege, and we're discussing the critical implications of these latest leaks. The U.S. has officially banned new foreign-made routers. It's a live long and prosper moment for open source firmware. I'll be breaking down which do-it-yourself option is the only way to stay sovereign in this new landscape, which it seems like we have a new landscape every single week now. And then Jill is back from the front lines with part 2 of her update from the biggest Linux expo on the planet. And we're going to learn about some new guests that will be coming on, hopefully in the future, from all of Jill's adventures at scale. And we have huge upgrades for VR and Steam hitting the deck. And we're checking the Oasis is finally ready for us. So set your phasers to open source. Grab your favorite stim pack and prepare for a plus ultra level of geekery. Let's get this show on the road. This is Destination Linux. So before we get to the community feedback, there's a couple of cool things that I want to announce. Number one is that Mathieu here, otherwise known as in our chat as the Lutris guy, has agreed to officially join us at least once a month on Destination Linux. So that to me is super exciting to have someone with your expertise coming on. And Jill tells me you're going to fact check me too, because all the lies I tell on the show, you're going to help fact check. Is that true?
Possibly. I mean, if you don't say anything too wrong, I mean, I won't have anything to check. But
you clearly never listened to the show, Mathieu. And then, I also want to mention our great friend Zeb is not feeling well. That's why he's not here with us this week, but we will have him back next week, of course, on the show. So we're very sad he's not here, but excited we'll hopefully have him back next week on here as well. And then finally, last week, as you know, I was remote, which created some issues because of Jill. And so I want to apologize on behalf of Jill to everyone for, I know to you guys, when you watched the episode, everything was fine, but Alan, our producer, had to work overtime to get that show out. So apology to our patrons. We couldn't get them an early episode or anything last week. It was very embarrassing. Jill, do you want to officially apologize to everyone for messing up all the audio, or how do you want to handle this?
It's not my fault. You were remote on a laptop.
So Jill, here, explain this to our patrons.
All the settings changed because you're using a different mic and,
But as I think respectfully, told our patrons in the chat is that you should have known I was going to mess something up and double checked everything.
Well, we actually did. So that was, we actually did. We did, but something between OBS and Video Ninja, our audio files got off sync, and so I don't think it was something that we saw coming.
Yeah,
or check for.
It does say a lot about you, Jill, that you're willing to publicly apologize for that, and I think everyone. Really,
I am so sorry, everyone.
That Ryan messed up, because it was really me. Which I have another story of how I messed up and why we were 10 minutes late to do the show, which I think people will find humorous as well, that we'll get into. But first, community feedback. And we can't miss this community feedback because it's Pancake Master.
Nice.
What a great name, Pancake Master. I love it. Writes us to say this: on the topic of privacy integrity, and being able to use free open source software wherever we like. As you've also talked about on the show, Google is soon blocking alternative sources such as F-Droid. Stumbled upon a possible solution here, which we'll have a link in the show notes to GitLab read. Currently testing out Postmarket OS on a OnePlus 6. I'm close to being able to use it as my daily driver. There are some bugs, such as audio to speakers. Bluetooth audio works fine, and the camera driver, I guess, isn't near daily driver operation. Other things like fingerprint reader and night light currently not working as well. Small things, but annoying when you're used to being able to just lock up your device with a finger press or unlock your device with a finger press. The goal naturally is to be able to confidently ditch Android, but that day is probably still in the future. Great show. Love you guys. I love Pancake Master because pancakes.
That's a great name.
Fantastic name. Love it. All right. So a couple things here. Number one, Apple for the UK users as of today released an update that's forcing them to do age verification. I don't know if you guys have seen this in the news, but I wish Zeb was here to kind of talk about this. We'll get his opinion on it next week. So that's an interesting thing that's changed with cell phones. And of course, this is all in relation to UK's ID verification laws that they passed. So I guess there's really I don't know what Apple otherwise could do. They also had to turn off apparently their encryption for the cloud for the UK, so you can't have encrypted iCloud either. It's just insanity what is happening. And we've talked about it ad nauseum. So yes, I think it's very cool. There are a couple companies who've come out and said, hey, I don't care what anybody says. We're not adding the ID verification in. And one of those is Graphene OS. So I know you're struggling with your OnePlus 6, and it may be, not really economically sound to go and get a Pixel device and things, but Graphene OS currently works on Pixel devices only. They are working on a partnership, as we talked about on the show, with Motorola, but Graphene OS would be one if you want to stay away from a lot of the shenanigans that would work. Also, there's a couple other Android operating system alternatives out there. None of them are as secure as Graphene. I think Graphene sets the bar. That's my opinion for security and privacy. There are certain apps and things that will not work with Graphene OS because certain banks, not all of them, a lot of banks do work, but certain banks and things or certain VPNs will kind of block Graphene out there. But for the most part, at least all your settings, camera, all that type of stuff works really well with it. So, Jill, Matthew, I don't know if you guys have anything to add on this, but it is really annoying that we're at this state now where we just basically have to find alternatives or give up our ID.
Yeah.
That this happens like just days after I come up with like an APK for an app I want to launch. And I'm like, oh, cool, I have an APK. I can put it on F-Droid. I can make it downloadable on my websites. And just days after that, it's like, no, Google just wants to forbid that. Great. I mean, it won't be applied like for a few years. Maybe like I won't get that update on my phone, maybe because it's pretty old. But it's going to eventually be the case like for all phones. So yeah, I mean, we need something an equivalent to Android, but one that is like feature complete. And that has always been like the problem, because there's always like, oh, the GPS doesn't work, or oh, the fingerprint reader doesn't work. There's always like a few features that's like basically you get a diminished phone when you use those alternatives, and we need something that's like really open, that can let you like use like any software you want. Because like the more Google like develops Android, the more it gets locked down, and it's still considered like some Linux system, but it's really far away from like what we see in Linux distros that let you do like pretty much everything. Like Android is such a locked down environment, and it was locked down before, but now it's getting worse and worse and worse.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm using EOS even right now on a Fairphone, and I can tell you it's very feature complete in my mind. I don't think, based on the research that I've done, EOS is as secure as Graphene OS in any stretch of the imagination, but it is an alternative. But I believe they do utilize some of the integrations and verifications that Google Play uses, which allows it to be a lot more compatible with Google stuff. So it's probably, I don't know for sure, write us if you know, going to have some of the same developer verification issues. But Pancake Master did send us this GitHub page that talks about this Google requiring developer verification, which a lot of developers in open source are not willing to do or want to do to give away their personal identity to Google to basically support their app. That this workaround, and Google's announced a workaround I saw today, at least headlines. I didn't get to research it. And it said something about, it would take 24 hours per app or something like that for users to be able to sideload something. So, but this workaround in GitHub essentially utilizes developer options in your phone, and utilizing those developer options and doing some, ADB connections and some commands and things essentially allows you to take back control and be able to load F-Droid stuff. It's so ridiculous that we're here on this. On one side, I understand from Google's standpoint of being able to say, hey, if you want your app on the Play Store, we kind of need to know who you are and we need to verify it because we're claiming that the Play Store is a very safe place and we want to be able to prosecute anybody who tries to put malware in it, whatnot. What they've taken away is user control, though, for where, okay, well, I'm a developer for open source. I'm just going to publish on F-Droid, but now nobody can get my app. And I understand that creates security issues by sideloading things, but that's a risk people should be able to take. You should own your own equipment when you buy it. Google should not be deciding what you can do with your stuff. It's fine to put warnings if you want. It's fine to tell people it's dangerous, but at the end of the day, people should own their stuff. And that's what we've lost in the big tech world is owning anything. And these companies just continue to, now Google Android is basically in the same boat as an Apple device in this scheme. So it's just very, very frustrating.
Yeah, it sure is. I was thinking about the other operating systems. Probably the one that's the best baked is Ubuntu Touch. As an alternative, I have that on one of my OnePlus One phones, and they've really come a long way with that. Of course, you don't have the Android app ecosystem, but you have the Ubuntu one.
Yeah.
So that is cool. And I actually still run OpenWebOS on my phone I'm using right now.
Oh,
I
really?
dual boot. Yeah.
Wow.
It's still very much a work in progress, but just for basic calling and texting and surfing the internet, it's fine.
The problem is I don't do like much like calling and texting. I want my
Yeah,
own.
yeah. You wanna
I
use
want,
it as a computer.
I want
Yeah.
my Postmates and the app that I have to use to open my doors, like in my apartment complex,
Oh,
and
yeah, yeah.
my
That would be a thing.
iRobot, like Roomba app, and all of that stuff. It's
Yeah,
more like
I
a
know, it's all
remote for like a bunch of devices more than like a phone by itself. I mean, it's like
yeah.
nowadays, like people use it less as a phone and more as a remote control.
A
Or,
remote control
yeah,
personal computer.
yeah, personal
I mean, it's
computer.
everything. People are
Yeah,
storing their IDs in it now, their
I know.
insurance,
Yeah,
their driver's license, they have everything stored in their phone. And I think that's what's so interesting about our conversation last week with Craig Rowland's Sandfly. We're talking about the fact that people think that their phone is more safe than their desktop computer or laptop. And then so they're willing to put more things or download more things. Or I've even seen situations where people were like, oh, don't worry, I didn't click the link on my computer. I tested it on my phone first. And I'm like, look, this device, yes, it has sandboxing, but in certain cases, but it's just as susceptible to malware as your desktop computer is.
Yeah.
And they're obviously hackers are very, especially nation state hackers, are very interested in getting a hold of your phone. I think in some ways, to try to give Google a little bit of leeway, I think in some ways this is an attempt to mitigate that type of stuff. They want to know who are the people who are making the software. And I think there are certain people where it makes sense that they do not deviate from the Play Store. What I don't like is the loss of control of an semi-open operating system and losing control of your hardware. If I want to download random stuff on my phone, that is my choice. Like, we got to stop with the nanny crap. Not everybody needs to be babysat to death. And by the way, being babysat to death is still not going to help you not get viruses and malware and phishing attempts and everything else. It's not going to solve it.
No.
So how is it going to work for like developers? Because like developing apps is pretty much like installing whatever like you come up with. You're going to have to register to Google and to like for deploying something, or
you've got to give your personal identity details to Google, and
are they going to make you pay like a Google tax? Like you have to pay an Apple tax if you want to make iPhone apps, and that's I don't know how it's going to. I hope they don't remove like the developer options, because that allows like to do a lot of things. And if they mess with that, I mean, it's going to impact like the development of apps and like all that stuff.
This is the slow roll of stuff that we're talking about, because what you're kind of alluding to, Matthew, is like right now you've got developers requiring to upload their government ID. You've got now Discord and other applications wanting your identification just to use the OS. Now you have OS level identification that's being requested, and we're seeing a lot of that take place even in Linux, right? Where they're trying to find basically ways to incorporate identity verification within the operating system, because that's being forced. And then things at the same time are getting more and more and more locked down, where you'd start having less and less control over your device as you go. So now you can't sideload apps without going through some special, process of things. It's just, to me, it's all very coordinated and very well planned to basically be able to 100% track and follow everything everybody does. But thank you, Pancake Master, for sending this in and giving us a workaround. Not just talking about an issue, but giving us a solution here. Definitely something for people to play with and try at your own risk. Jill, me, Matthew have not tried this. I can't 100% say this won't ruin your warranty, brick your phone, or other things. So, maybe buy a $50, $10 cheap phone on eBay and play with that first and see if you like it, and then try it on your main device. That would be my best advice to give on that. As Linux users, we all know the security paradox. You need deep EDR, endpoint detection, and response visibility. But traditional agents are often a hassle. They cause kernel panics, conflict with critical updates, and eat up precious CPU cycles on your production nodes, essentially creating the very downtime they're supposed to prevent. This is exactly why global leaders are moving to Sandfly, the agentless Linux security platform. Speaking of telecom, in fact, Ericsson just partnered with Sandfly to provide agentless EDR for their wireless and mission-critical telecom networks worldwide. Think about the level of scale and rigorous auditing required for that kind of partnership. And that's why Destination Linux is proud to be sponsored by the incredible team at Sandfly Security. If Sandfly is trusted to secure mobile infrastructure where downtime is measured in millions of dollars, imagine the stability and reduced technical debt it brings to your enterprise fleet. You get deep forensic visibility, SSH auditing, and drift detection without installing a single piece of software on your production endpoints. It's security that respects your uptime and simplifies your compliance audits. And for our home lab enthusiasts, Sandfly will offer a home edition that you can get 50% off right now with the code DESTINATION50. Join the shift to agentless at deviantairwaves.com/Sandfly. That's deviantairwaves.com/Sandfly, and see why the world's most critical infrastructure runs on Sandfly. And you're going to want to bookmark that because we're going to have something later in the show where we're talking about the U.S. ban on routers, where Sandfly becomes even more important part of your security posture here. You guys know how we are with our sponsors, that only companies that we have thoroughly vetted and trust, and we've had Craig on here multiple times. The way things are going right now with security, you really need to be checking out Sandfly, like for real, checking out Sandfly. So if nothing else, go to deviantairwaves.com/Sandfly, check out what they're offering, get to know it. It's an incredible product. And a special shout out to our patrons. We have William, who has upgraded to a higher tier. So thank you. Congratulations on that. And to all of our patrons, Jill, the support
It's been awesome.
overwhelming for this show. I can't believe it. Like, thank you to all of our patrons. And we're going to be doing some really cool things, Jill. Some of the perks for being a patron, we're going to, when we get enough in one of the tiers, the higher tiers, we're going to do a patron-only show. But we're also going to invite our patrons on to a future episode here to do a segment with us. And that's going to be pretty fun. We're going to have to pick a really interesting topic, like what's the best breakfast cereal?
Yeah, there we go.
Or pancakes or waffles. Like these are, we'll go through some Linux topics with them as well. It should be a ton of fun. So if you want to become a patron, go to deviantairwaves.com. All right, Jill, it's personal story time here.
Yes.
So Jill knows this.
I'm looking forward to this one.
Jill knows this very well because, I talk to Jill all the time. And so Jill knows everything I've been going through this week. And there was a story that hit the news, and then it also hit home for me because just recently I went to urgent care, now twice. I've been to urgent care for my arch nemesis. And no, it's not Microsoft. They're not attacking me. It is poison ivy. I am heavily allergic and always have been to poison ivy. Now, I believe my parents tried to kill me because I grew up in the Everglades. So I was constantly around poison ivy. And so this is something that now everybody technically is allergic to poison ivy, but my body overreacts to the 1000th degree. Like it just creates swelling and rash. It's terrible. It's terrible. So I do have a vulnerability, and all of my haters out there, you can write that down and try to take me out later with it. But that is my thing. And my wife was joking, Jill, that all this working out, all this muscle and everything else, and a leaf can take me out. So
that's your kryptonite.
Not so impressive, right?
Yeah.
Like you got Superman, at least kryptonite, you have to go to like another planet to find it, whereas mine's just like a random 3-leaf thing that just completely wrecks my whole immune system. So I'm currently on another dose of I guess it's like a steroid, like cortisone steroid that suppresses my immune system so that it stops reacting to all this and all this. So why am I telling this on a Linux story? Well, I need sympathy, number one, and you can sponsor me no, I'm kidding. So we are going to Georgia on vacation. I get poison ivy hanging out with my cousin in a cleared out area of the woods, and I grabbed a branch and threw it, and that was the only thing I touched, and that was enough to get me poison ivy. All right. So I get poison ivy. Fair enough. We're driving home a couple days later. It's getting out of control. So as we're driving home, we have to cross the several states. We go into one of the states, which is Mississippi, and we find a urgent care center because I've got to get something to stop the spread of this poison ivy. So I go into this urgent care center, and I hand them my driver's license, and I hand them my insurance card. Everything urgent care needs, along with my credit card, to get their money. Which is the most important thing. If you've ever been in the hospital recently, especially in the States or anything, money is first and foremost. They'll cure you later, give us our money. So then I hand them all this, and then they literally handed me a slip of paper, and on that slip of paper were 3 printed request items. One of those was my social security number, and the other was my mother's maiden name, along with my phone number, were the 3 items. Social security number, mother's maiden name, and a phone number. Now, my wife, when we found this place, had filled out all of my information that they needed, info online, and along with phone number and stuff. But they handed me this paper and wanted this. So I told the lady, I said, I can give you my phone number, but I'm not giving you my social security number. Now, mind you, I need this shot. I need this steroid shot because what happens next is my body just essentially starts going into chaos mode, right? I've got to get this. She says, well, we can't help you. If you don't give us your social security number, I can't proceed forward in this. And I kindly, because I know it's not her policy, was like, listen, I'm not going to give you my social security number, and I'm certainly not going to give you my mother's maiden name. These are things you use to run credit. I'm not running credit. I'm not buying a house. You have my credit card. You have my insurance. I have fantastic insurance. I don't even have to pay a deductible for urgent care. And you have my driver's license. And they were just dumbfounded. So I looked at her and I said, just type in 111 11 11111. And she did that and the system proceeded. So I go back into the room to get my shot. When I come out, my wife said they'd handed her a digital tablet and asked her to fill out some more info. Guess what more info on that digital tablet wanted? My social security number. Thankfully, I married intelligently, and my wife put 111 11 11111. She wasn't in the room when that first discussion was happening, so she wasn't even aware all that stuff had happened. And it just made me think how obscene it is that these services demand this ultra-sensitive data that they clearly cannot protect. And we'll get into the story of how clearly they can't protect it here in a second. But Jill, have you ever experienced this going into a doctor's office and wanting your social security number and mother's maiden name or any of this nonsense?
No, because here with the system I'm on, where they do use your account number, not your social. They have like a separate account number, which makes sense because
Makes
you already
sense.
have all that information on the web, and it's already the whole system is already. I have a series of like 50 hospitals and hundreds of different doctors I can go to, and they're all connected on the computer. So it's just you just give them your account number. Now, the only time I have seen this is if you're gonna be submitted to a hospital that's out of um, your medical plan.
Okay.
And then, of course, that makes sense because it's an emergency in the hospital and it's not your normal, provider.
Yeah.
So that's the only time that I've run across that, and because I've had a lot of medical procedures, that has happened to me before. I've had to go to a hospital that was outside of my normal
When
normal,
my daughter was very sick, we had to go to
Mhm.
hospital quite a bit when she was younger, and perfectly healthy
Yeah.
now. But when she was younger, we ran into a lot of health issues. We were in and out of hospitals constantly. The social thing came up quite a bit. I
Mm,
said no every time, and every time they were able to work around it. What my problem isn't like you mentioned having a separate code. It's that we've
yeah.
normalized using social security numbers for everything, and this is a very private number. This number should be only used in the most absolute necessary moments possible to prove your identity of who you are. If somebody steals your SSN, they can do all kinds of things. They can wreak
Yeah.
havoc on your life. If you take somebody's SSN and you start combining it with mother's maiden names, which is an often used security secret for
Yeah.
getting into people's accounts, right? Bank accounts,
Yeah.
other things will ask you, oh, use, as a secret question, what's your mother's maiden name? We've normalized using our social security number for everything. Pretty much next time, I wouldn't be surprised if I walk into a Kroger grocery store and they're like, oh, instead of asking for your phone number, what's your social security number so we can take you in our system? Like, it's getting so ridiculous, and it's because people aren't pushing back on it. Now,
Yeah.
never get mad at the staff because it's not their fault. They don't make these policies. But that doesn't mean you can't hold firm kindly and say, no, I'm not giving
No,
you this.
there's
You
gotta
don't
be
need
another
it.
way. Yeah.
You don't
I
need it.
know, I have to say, I know here in California, we've passed some very strict rules about this, and one is even as an instructor, it used to be that all the colleges used your Social Security. And about 20 years ago, they forced all the community colleges and the four-year universities to use a separate account code instead of your social. And that's happening with our medical industry here. But I didn't know, I know that's here in California, but I didn't know if I don't know what the laws are for other states.
Well, I remember in corporate America, like this is probably I'm dating myself. Not that the gray in my beard doesn't already, but 20 years ago, when I worked for a very large employer, they used your Social Security number as your employee ID.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that everybody's employee ID was their social, and then they came back and obviously realized how stupid that was, and years later changed it. But this was a major employer; it was kind of a common thing that people would do to create basically a key that was unique for everybody. Matthew, you run into this nonsense?
I mean, recently I had something like going on with my power, which was cut off, and I realized it was like some account that wasn't transferred and all of that stuff. So I had to go and get my power restored, and they did ask for my social security number for whatever reason. I wasn't. I mean, at this point, I just wanted my power restored.
Of
so I was
course,
like,
yeah.
okay, I'll give you my social security number, which I was like, oh, I can pull it from my Nextcloud. It's there. I have it I have a scan on it on my Nextcloud. But the problem is that I didn't have power at home, so my Nextcloud was off. So I was like, I don't have it. So I was like searching from my emails until I find eventually my social security number in some unrelated document. I think it was like some tax something, but yes, it's everywhere. It's like in some tax document, I found it. It's here. So yeah, it's stupid. Like the stupidest thing is like in the US, there's not even proper social security. Like the thing that's supposed to be used for. Like it's not even a thing. It's just for those identification purposes. It's very sensitive. You can do like a whole bunch of stuff. And I think since I haven't had my whole life in the US, every time there's like a ID check in some form, I often get rejected because I don't have like the necessary like credit history or whatever they use.
Yeah.
Whenever like there's a ID check, I often like they say like no. I had like something like that happen with my bank recently. They wanted to check my ID with. It wasn't using my SSN, but it failed for whatever reason. They don't tell me like why it failed. It's just, oh, we're going to check your ID, and then they say no, it didn't work. Try some other way, and yeah, it's wild. I mean, I don't know why they do that. I don't know why they haven't come with like better solutions. But it's very annoying. It's very like dangerous.
It is dangerous.
Wow.
And the thing is, Jill and Matthew, like if it push came to shove, I would have had to give that because I had to get that shot.
I know. Yeah, I know.
And so if they continued to be pushy, like what choice do I have? But you've got my insurance, my credit card, my driver's license. You really need my Social Security and mother's. You're that desperate to make sure you get paid that, it's so ridiculous. And as our producer Alan said, SSNs were not made to be used as proof of identity. That was never the intention for them, especially for corporations, to just randomly use them as proof of identity. It's just ridiculous. But this is why it gets worse. Navia data breach just took place. On it looks like it was around suspicious activity on January 23rd is when this was starting to be investigated. Public notifications for this, by the way, didn't roll out till mid-March. So been a while since this breach happened. And basically, they're saying that this breach occurred because of a vulnerability in one of their application programming interfaces or APIs. And the attacker got read access to all participant data, allowing them to view and copy everything. And the reason this didn't trigger any alarms is because they could view and copy stuff, but they couldn't change or delete anything. So what did we lose with this? Well, Navia, of course, is a company that has benefits administrator for over 10,000 companies for a U.S. employer. And they had 2.7 million customers affected by this. And so what did we lose? Names, dates of birth, social security numbers, phone numbers, email addresses, physical addresses, Navia ID numbers, and health plan enrollment details. So this is why me handing over that piece of paper or filling it on a digital tablet is such a terrible idea. Because these companies can't keep this data safe when they get it to begin with. And how many times are we going to see hacks like this over? Or could we name off the top of our heads? It's getting to the point where I hear about our social security numbers being hacked, and I'm like, I'm almost numb to it. Like it just there's no end to it. And so these companies want more and more data, but they're showing less and less capability of actually being able to secure it. It's like we live in some cartoon land. It's so stupid. I don't get it. I'm very confused by this.
Yeah, Mathieu, in France, do they do that? How is it handled with because you have nationalized healthcare? How do they deal with that? Is it a separate account number from your ID,
usually
or how?
your social security card will only be asked for like in a medical
In the
context.
medical, yeah.
Yeah, and otherwise, I
Okay.
mean, they don't have like anything. I mean, they might ask you for like ID or like a driver's license, and even then, like a driver's license is mostly like a US thing as a form of ID.
Yeah.
So usually it will be like a normal piece of ID or something like that, and that's all. I mean, it's they don't use. I've never noticed like companies using like a social security like that, um, or like credit history. Like that's not a thing in France as well. Um, no, I mean this is purely US thing.
Yeah. Well, it being tied to medical, it has been for years, and, I'm an older adult, senior, quote, senior.
Stop, Joe. We all know you're 21. Just quit.
But in order to get, on Medicare, Medicaid, and all that, that's tied to your Social Security. So that kind of stuff makes sense. But just randomly asking for it everywhere, whether it be a school, for work, is ridiculous.
I
Yeah,
think
and even if you go to a hospital, I mean, with
Yeah.
your insurance and all of that, they should be able. I mean, if they need that
Just show your
information,
insurance card.
they
Yeah.
should be able to get it. I mean, through insurance or like whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
here's my ask to the community out there, and this is just me personally. Resist. At the
Yeah.
very least, maybe you have to end up giving it up, but at least make it difficult. One of the problems is we're so unpolite in the United States in so many ways, like when we're on the road, but we're so polite when we're confronted with somebody wanting something that they really shouldn't have. We're too polite for that kind of stuff. And again, I'm not talking about taking it out on the staff, but I'm saying resisting. Put up at least a fight to say, I don't think you need this. I don't feel comfortable giving this to you. It's not okay that you're asking this from me, because it's too easy for companies now. Like, go imagine, I couldn't imagine if you asked my grandfather, he walked in the grocery store and they wanted to do a transaction. He scans the items and they go, okay, can I have your name and phone number, please? But like, no. Here's my money, go away. Like,
Yeah.
they knew back then, they were smart enough to know that it's not okay to get all this personal information from me just to complete a transaction. But we've become too complacent with giving it out. And that's why I wanted to bring this to this podcast, is to say, just resist. That doesn't mean at the end of the day, maybe you have to give it, but at least make it difficult for them, a little bit difficult for them. And if you can, just use 111, 111, 111, and whoever that is, they're going to have a lot of data pulled on them, the 111. Anyways, all right, Jill, let's talk about something happy here. Scale 23X. I hear there may be some people that we're going to have on the show from your ventures there, so I'm very excited to hear about this. What do you got?
Awesome. So I had, once again, a wonderful time at the Southern California Linux Expo, once again, Scale 23X on March 5th through 8th, 2026, just a few weeks ago here in Los Angeles and Pasadena, California. And check out my Scale 23X top 5 moments and highlights from last week's show, where I talk about and show pictures of visiting with my Scale family and friends, including Mathieu and Glorious Eggroll. Meeting new Destination Linux viewers and visiting with returning ones at Scale, and getting to meet and talk with the wonderful Yuning Liang from Deep Computing and RISC-V.
I'm still jealous about that, Jill. I'm stupidly jealous that you got to meet Yuning in person, and I want to meet Yuning too.
Yeah.
And I want his autograph. Did you get his autograph? I would have wanted his autograph.
I got pictures with him, so I was happy about that.
I like Yuning. I like him so much.
And the other cool thing was, of course, getting together with Linux legend John Mad Dog Hall once again.
Yes, come on.
The many times at Scale and so much more. So this week, I'm going to highlight more people I talked to at Scale and more people we were going to interview in the future on Destination Linux. And I'm going to show a few more pictures. So I got to talk to Adriana Frick from Ubuntu Academy that I've talked about here on Destination Linux. That was an awesome way. It's not only Red Hat now that's you can take tests for IT and working in the world. Now you can do it with Ubuntu. And it was inexpensive. And you remember, Ryan, me and you took that first test?
Oh, yeah.
It was command line. The first test was the command line. And anyways, Adriana was so sweet and actually brought me this Ubuntu hat as a gift for being the first podcaster to cover her Ubuntu Academy project for Canonical.
Wow. Well,
this is not one that was given out at the conference. She brought it for me.
So Destination Linux was the first podcast to cover it. Is that true? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, I was just checking. I was just making sure I understood it correctly. No, that hat is dope. That's a really cool looking Ubuntu hat too.
Yeah, it's really sweet. And it fit right on top of my headphones. That was nice.
That was so sweet that they thought of that, remembered it, and brought you that. How cool.
Yeah. Yeah, and she hadn't been to the conference in a couple years, so she remembered me. She's like, Jill, come here, I have something for you.
Yeah.
So we got that great picture together, and she's an amazing person, and she had some really neat stories about working with Mark Shuttleworth. So, and she knew, she had watched him being interviewed here on Destination Linux several years ago.
Nice.
Yeah.
Gosh, we're big time. We're so big time, Jill.
Yes.
How do we even fit in our britches? We're so big time.
But we were the first to cover Ubuntu Academy because I found that story. Like, I remember the morning I found that story and immediately put it in our show notes.
Yes. That's so cool. So you're the first one to mention it, and Destination Linux was the first podcast to bring it. And I was legit excited, and still am, about the Ubuntu Academy. With this current job situation going on, I have a lot of friends that are out of work, trying to find work and stuff. You know, being able to get certified in something that's reasonably priced is really important for people right now. Because when you're out of a job, it's kind of hard to be like, well, go back to college for 8 years and then try again. Like, certifications are a really quick way to potentially putting yourself ahead of other candidates out there. So
yeah. Absolutely. And another person I want to interview is I was reunited with a dear friend who is also one of my heroes and the OG, Amber Grainer. Let
I
me
thought you
tell
were
you
going to name
about
me,
Amber.
but okay,
Yeah.
Amber's cool too. One of your heroes. All right.
Yes, you are one of my heroes, Ryan Doskeek.
I wasn't fishing for that at all. All right, go ahead.
Amber was one of the first ladies to speak at the Southern California Linux Expo and other conferences, but Scale first. And she did talks about mentoring and her work with the Ubuntu community in the early years.
Wow.
In fact, she's written books on Ubuntu, and she was the one who maintained the Ubuntu community forums and the help forums. She did a little bit of everything for Ubuntu, and that was just amazing, and was one of the first ladies to do so. And so she inspired me to start podcasting and talk about my passion for Linux.
Wow.
She
That's
was really
huge.
when I used to watch her, she did many talks at Scale, many years ago,
My
and I
goodness.
was just so inspired. She was so uplifting and encouraging, and especially, wanting to get women in the field. It was
Yeah.
it was, there were no ladies, at that time, especially at that time. It was even less than it is now. So she was really one of the people that inspired me to do something in Linux, and I knew I wanted to do something media related. And she used to also talk about you don't have to be a programmer to help out,
That's
with
so true.
Linux.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can do, tutorials, and help with
Right
advertising
documentation,
and
marketing, yeah.
marketing, the whole
Project
9
management,
yards.
anything.
So she was one of the first people to speak about that at the Southern California Linux Expo.
Well, I can't wait to meet her. That's
Yeah.
exciting.
And the other person is my friend John Robinson. John was one of the original developers of my favorite X window manager that I'm running right now, Window Maker.
I thought it was rat poison. Or is rat poison not a window manager?
It is one. No,
Yeah.
Rat Poison is one of the X window managers, but without mouse use. Of course.
Window maker
And
sounds way more safe. All right. I
yeah.
like it. All right.
And he had actually a window maker booth for several years at Scale back in the day. And the first year he had a window maker booth at Scale in 2008, I freaked out and excitedly ran to his booth and showed
Aw.
him my custom window maker theme I had created for my original lime green Asus EPC 701 4G.
How do you remember all of that, Jill? It's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
And I also rolled my own lightweight Debian-based Linux distro with the Window Maker desktop, of course, for my EPC, and that distro is called Gilix. It's a little bit out of date, but it still works on that machine.
You have your own distro called Gilix?
Yes.
You're just telling me about this now?
No, I told this about you. Guess when I told this
just
about
don't
you?
remember. What?
Okay. I still have the EPC in my collection, and I showed it off here on Destination Linux in a Jill's treasure hunt on episode
man.
220.
I
It was
must
a
have thought
long
you were
time ago.
joking about your own distro. Can I go download Gilix?
Yeah. No, I never made
No?
it public, but I did do a few updates on it, and obviously, I updated the web browsers.
I
so
do
I
see
could
a
still use
Gilix
it.
GitHub out here, funny enough. It's got 80 repositories
funny.
under it. Is that yours?
Yeah,
By
no,
any chance? No? Oh, all
uh-uh.
right, darn.
I had thought about putting on
Do you know how popular a
GitHub.
Jill-made distro would be? Like, even if you did nothing but had a pink wallpaper, it was just Ubuntu with a pink wallpaper, like, everyone would download it. It would go crazy, like wildfire. This is how we're going to make money, Jill. We're going to sell
Aw.
Ubuntu with a pink wallpaper. We're
There
going to
we
call
go.
it Gilix.
And penguin sounds as well.
And penguin sounds. Yes.
That's it. I love it. All right. So, Jill, Window Maker, is it still maintained?
Oh, yes. Yeah, there was still an update as of a few months ago.
Very
And
nice.
John was one of the people to start updating it more often.
Very cool.
So,
Very, very cool.
yeah. And so gosh, that's another area of people I wanna interview. It's the people that have developed these old X window managers that we use and love.
Yeah.
Of course, as well as the desktop environments, like KDE and GNOME. But those old X window managers, a lot of them are still being maintained, and they're still working out how to get them compatible with Wayland and all that good stuff. So
You know who, I love all of these folks. I can't wait I hope we can get all of them on the show, but you know who I really want to come on the show as well, if anybody in our community has a hookup for us, is Gamers Nexus.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I want
Definitely.
him to come on this show. I would love to. If you have a connection with Gamers Nexus, let us know. I think that would be fascinating
Yeah, Steve.
interview. Yeah, have
Yeah.
Steve on as well. All right, Jill, and we're also got a special surprise because if people wait to the end of this show, you're going to have a few short videos of the actual Linux Chicks LA working the booth. Couple cool things about this. Number one, really fun, exciting footage that you'll be able to see. It'll give you an idea of kind of what happens at scale if you've been thinking about going, and this year may be your year. Kind of give you an idea of what it would be like to be there. Just a little short preview of it. Some other things.
Yeah, there's just like 3 short clips, but it does include our raffle that we did on Friday for a Dell laptop that my Steve husband and, my other co-coordinator of the Linux Chicks, Sharon, they were the masters of ceremony while I was filming. So I took a small clip from that, so you can see,
Very
we
cool.
get lots of people at the booth. We have, several hundred people that contributed to the raffle, and a lot of people just come up and wanna, give us $20 just for our organization. They don't want anything in return, but we try and give them a raffle ticket.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
You got to love the kindness of the open source community out there.
Absolutely.
Now that Jill's made you happy, let me make you sad. So the FCC, well, maybe this isn't sad, but maybe it is. I don't know, Jill. How do we classify this? Somewhere in the middle? The FCC has
somewhere in the middle.
officially added basically all new models of consumer grade wireless routers manufactured outside the US to its ban list, banning them from being able to be imported into the United States. The government here cited that these were because of national security risks that we were doing this, specifically pointing to state-sponsored botnets and cyber attacks like Volt, Flax, and Salt Typhoon that compromised small office routers and home routers. So essentially, even if, let's say you're a government official, you work for, or you're in a big corporation that may be heavily targeted for espionage type stuff, maybe NVIDIA, AMD, Intel, those type of things, all those executives, even engineers and things, work from home. So yes, they're on company routers, enterprise grade routers when they're at work. When they go home, they may be on whatever their home router is. And so obviously they're a target, definitely, for nation state hacks and things like that, just like phones and stuff that we talked about are. But this is a very interesting situation because I've seen a couple of weird reactions I would classify as weird. One is people talking about rushing out there and buying up the routers that are on the shelves because they're about to be banned. And I'm like, okay, I don't trust my government either, but I think there's a good reason why there's certain companies out there that have had a long reputation of maybe doing something nefarious out there with their backends, like TP-Link, as an example, is rumored. There's been lots of rumors and things. I'm not saying it's true, just saying there's been lots over the years. Jill, correct me if I'm wrong. Lots and lots of people mentioning maybe there's something going on with those routers.
Yeah.
They're really cheap. Okay.
Yeah.
Really, really cheap. So I wouldn't go out there as a consumer and start buying up all the routers because obviously something is going on. So the problem is, though, Jill, that there basically is almost zero routers that are manufactured in the US.
Yeah.
So this essentially takes out every brand, and I mean all of them.
Yeah.
Linksys, Netgear, Ubiquity, even a lot of their stuff. Like, they're not all made in China, but they're all made in Asian countries and things like that. Now, manufacturers will have the ability to basically get conditional approvals to bring their models to the market. So companies like Ubiquiti, for instance, which are highly trusted amongst many security professionals and things like that. I trust Ubiquiti a lot. They have a dream router for homes, by the way, and things that you can look at getting. It's one of my favorite companies. The other thing I like about Ubiquiti is you can SSH into it, and this is where you get into like Sandfly. Because I want Sandfly to be looking at my network, checking for deviations across all my devices, my IoT stuff, Raspberry Pis, that type of stuff. You need SSH for that. So this is where, I think that having something that has SSH is really important. But basically, everybody's impacted. Amazon Eero, Google Nest Wi-Fi, all that stuff is manufactured overseas. Now, I think there's going to be a lot of companies like Ubiquiti that are going to get some ability to go to the DoD and get kind of a pass on this, right?
Yeah.
But don't go out there and buy all these routers until we find out which ones get the pass and which ones don't. That would be my take.
And the biggest problem there, they just need to update their firmware more or make it easy for the consumer.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the answer. And using open source like OpenWrt.
Yeah.
It's...
Well, Till in our chat is saying that in Germany, you're not forced to use your ISP's router. You have the right to use any router you want. That's still true in the US as well, by the way. You don't have to use your ISP's router. However, basically every router now, including probably the one your ISP sold you, is technically going to be banned. Now, that doesn't mean if you have the equipment that's going to stop working, but I believe they can only update them through like 2027. Is something like that, March 2027, when they'll stop doing firmware updates and even allow that unless something shifts. So people will need to probably get a different router at some point, which I have a solution for, Jill.
Yes, you do.
I made it all myself. I went and coded it. I'm as cool as Matthew. I can write software as good as Lutris.
No.
Okay, I'm not as cool as Matthew. I want it to be, though. I want to know what it felt like. No, but there is open source solutions and do-it-yourself hardware for routers, and it's not that hard to do. You can build your own router. And I think what keeps a lot of people from doing this, like if you buy a little mini PC, what was the one that was given to me from that really cool company? I'm trying to think of their name. No.
No, that was a different. It was a different one.
They sent me one. B-Link is a popular one out there.
I'm forgetting the name of the other one.
I can see their logo.
Like 5 years ago.
It will come to me. But yeah, they sent me one of these awesome mini PCs, and I still use it to this day. I will get it here in a second. The little N100, I think it is.
Oh yeah, that's it. Yeah.
But in any case, they these little mini PCs would make they're super powerful. They'd make a great router. So you can install things like OpenWrt on them. And then you're like, I think the thing that keeps people from doing this is they're like, but I need Wi-Fi. So if I take this router, I need a mesh Wi-Fi network. So if you take this router and you put OpenWrt in it, and then you set up access points, like the little Ubiquiti circle access points, you can set up Wi-Fi all around your home still. You can do that without having to have a box that has Wi-Fi necessarily built in if you need more coverage and mesh-like setup. So you can still do all of this stuff yourself. And it's so Linux and hacky. It's so cool is what I'm getting at, to do it yourself. Like, why not? This makes having a router way more fun than going into a store, buying one, and setting up something that somebody else has done. And the cool thing about OpenWrt, Jill, is guess what? You can SSH into it, which means you can set up Sandfly on it and other things in there. It's perfect for that. So, like, do it the open source way. Like, fine, you ban it. Now we get to go have more fun. What?
Yeah.
That's how I look at it.
Well, do you know, in the mid-90s, Ryan, I built a 486 as a router. just as a router. I put 4 Ethernet cards in there, PCI and
yeah.
Actually,
and how much fun was it? Did you probably really enjoyed the experience of getting that operational and up and running?
Yeah. In fact, I even had an extended ISA card in there.
How cool. How cool.
But yeah, that was a thing. We used to build our own routers, and of course, that was before the age of wireless. But the 486 is still powerful enough to build a router with.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
you got an old computer sitting around, or a small form factor computer like the Raspberry Pi with a couple Ethernet ports, and hook those up.
System 76 even has a mini PC that would be
Yeah.
kind of perfect for me. It's way overpowered, by the way. I'm like Tim the Tool Man. That
Yeah.
reference will go over a lot of people's heads, but I overpower everything in my house. Like I use I have stuff running things with just way too much power for what you need, but that's what I enjoy. I like making sure that nothing lags or has any problems. But yeah, Matthew, like, don't tempt me with a good time is what I feel like you're saying right now. I'll go make my own router.
I find that this is very similar to the phone situation because
Mm,
like
Mm.
Android phones and routers are like basically like the two most common household items that run Linux,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
both have like in in the process of making those devices consumer friendly and easy to use. They've also locked it a lot, like it's locked down
Mhm.
like extremely. They are trying to impose like all those rules. Like in the routers, they're like not secure. Like they're including like Trojan horses, like in the software and all of that stuff. While I mean, we could have like free and open source software on those devices, but this is just not the thing because they made the whole thing really easy to use. Like you just have to plug and play, and that's it. You don't have to know like how to use Linux. You don't have to know
Yeah.
anything about
Yeah.
networking. But in the end, I mean, in that in the situation where the people don't control their devices, and then the companies does, and they do like shady things, and then they need to be like forbidden like from the sale by the government. So yeah, I mean that's kind of like very disappointing because we have those Linux devices, and in some ways, it's even worse than like Windows like laptops or like Windows PCs because they're like fully locked down. You can't. I mean, a normal router you can't do anything. You can't SSH into it. You can't reinstall another OS unless like you have a very specific model. Um, yeah, it's
Oh, and you have to use, to your point, Matthew, I think what you're saying is absolutely imperative that if we had gone with open source to begin with in our routers and everybody
Mhm.
wasn't out there writing their own proprietary solution, we wouldn't be here, right? Because we'd already know what's in the firmware. We'd already know what's from that aspect. But number two is all the proprietary software and lockdowns that happen. So, for instance, certain routers will only let you subscribe to their VPN or parental control thing, which now requires a
Mhm.
monthly subscription cost if you want to use parental controls or you want to use their specific VPN. But let's say you've got Mulvad and you want to use Mulvad. Well, you can't because you don't get access into those settings with that. Whereas if you use an open source OpenWRT, you can use whatever you want. In fact, you can on that same overpowered PC that I'll use as my router, you could also, create your own VPN there as well.
Yeah.
So there are so many better options that you can do, and this is a fun project. And if you're in our community and you decide to take this project on, or do you already have, I want to see pics. Put pics in our Destination Linux Deviant Airwaves Discord or a Matrix room so we can pick those up and have them on a future show to show people the router model that you used, how you did it,
Mhm.
especially if you built your own PC around it or whatever. I want to see it. I want to get everybody out there making their own router. What a cool hack to do, and I think it's going to be so much fun to have people out there building their own. And I know our very own Alan producer is interested in this. So,
Mhm.
Joe, maybe we hook Alan up with some equipment and let him go. Like
There we go.
we
Yeah,
appreciate him
we
so
would
much.
love
We hook
that.
him up with some equipment, and Yeah, let him make his own router there. I think that would be pretty dope. We're going to do that for sure. All right. Awesome. Moving on because I don't know, Jill's talking too much this episode and we're so out of time. Jill, please, if you could. Matthew, what did you bring us this week in the gaming section?
Okay, so I got like a few updates like for gaming related news. But the most important one that happened like recently is an update on the SteamOS front. So it's not out yet; it's still like a preview, but it's a pretty large one, pretty consequent one, bringing some stuff that we've been waiting for a long, long time. So this is like the biggest feature in that is like the 64-bit Steam clients, which is like in beta still. It's like not the default one, but this is like traditionally like the Steam client has been like one of the last 32 bits like Linux apps that we have to run, and one of the reasons why like distros and like Linux distros have to ship like 32-bit compatibility layers. That doesn't mean that we'll get 64-bit games, like all the games will like remain 32-bit, like the ones that are like 32-bit will remain that way. But we have like compatibility layers within Steam that can do that. I'm still not sure how the situation will evolve regarding graphics drivers, because usually that's one of the big issues is like you need 32-bit libraries. There's like workarounds for that, but in any case, you will need like 32-bit graphics drivers. So I'm not sure if that eliminates that altogether. But it's very good, like first step to have like those 64 bits Linux Steam clients, because that was like blocking a lot of things. And now we're getting closer and closer to a full 64-bit system. And notably, this is going to make things a lot easier on the ARM fronts, because 32-bit Steam client was causing a bunch of issues, like with Box64 in particular. I know that's Steam itself for like Proton, they use FX internally. But if you want, like if you have like, for example, a Raspberry Pi and want to run Steam on it, like Box64 is a good option, but there would be issues regarding like Box64 and Steam, and that will eventually go away. So that's a very good news.
Nice.
Another thing that's like more, so that's like from the Steam client beta, but there's also been like a SteamOS beta that's been recently released. And one of the highlights of this new SteamOS release is the usage, like they upgraded KDE Plasma on this version, and now it's going to use Wayland by default.
Yeah, that'll help.
So SteamOS was one of the last distros to ship with like some Xorg, like X11, and now they've switched back to Wayland. So this is very good news. I had some bug in Lutris that was only affecting X11, and I was like, oh well, X11 that's like losing traction a lot. But then I thought, wait, there's a very big distro that is using X11 still, and that is SteamOS. So once that is released publicly, like as a stable release, that's one less distro to worry about like X11, and it's going to use Wayland. So very good news. You'll be able to use HDR on if you have like a HDR compatible display with your Steam Deck. So it could be an external display, or it could be like the Steam Deck OLED, which has HDR as well. But yeah, overall, it's very good news. And one last update also is one from not related to Valve itself. I mean, this is more like a side thing. But GE-Proton, so the Proton build that Glorious Eggwalls makes, has been updated with some VR components, which means
Nice.
you can use VR without any of the Steam stack. So you can use VR for your GOG games, for your Epic games, and all of that stuff.
That's
And
huge.
it can run independently of Steam. So that's a really nice thing. I haven't been able to test it. Gloria Sigwell was here with me at Scale, the Scale Expo. And while he was here, he managed to get Crisis running on ARM.
Woohoo!
That is crazy.
And he was toying around with like the VR with his Oculus 3 VR headset on Sunday, but he wasn't able to get like the full thing running. Just a few days after the expo ended, he was like, "Okay, there's this new Proton version, and there's VR in it. It works with without Steam." So I don't have a VR headset to test it, but I would really like one. Not sure which one to pick. Like the Steam frame, of course, is like a very attractive.
Right.
Not out there yet.
Yeah.
I don't know how much it will cost.
How does the creator of Lutris not have a VR headset? I feel like this is a travesty, and the community should come together and just send you one.
Yeah,
we
right now
have
I'm
to
not
get you
sure
one.
which solution I want to settle on. I've tried really quickly, like the only VR I've tried at home was the Oculus 2, which was a bit tricky. We had to resort to some hacks and everything to get it running. It did work in the end, but it wasn't ideal. So I would want something that's a bit more polished on Linux, at least.
You want the Apple VR headset? I got you. No problem.
No, that is like for Apple stuff. That
Yeah.
is even a worse solution than the Oculus, I guess.
yeah.
But I think the Oculus 3 is a good solution. I mean, that's what Gloria Segwell has. I would also consider secondhand, like Valve Index. Maybe that would be a good solution.
Valve Index. I think that's a good one, Matt.
Yeah, you could probably
but
get a pretty good
otherwise, I mean,
price on
like,
those, I would think, right?
Like the Steam frame would be like a nice thing to have, but it's also a bit different because it's like fully integrated. It's like
it's computer on your
machine.
face.
And it's running ARM. So we
Yes,
would need to
that's
have like
awesome.
both like a great VR compatibility and also ARM compatibility. It will also be able to stream games from your main PC onto the headsets. So maybe that's not such a huge problem, but it depends. I mean, for longest time, I mean, I wasn't able to test HDR. Now I have the HDR displays. I wasn't able to test 4K. Now I have the 4K TV. And I think like the last thing, like same thing for ray tracing. I didn't have the hardware for ray tracing. Now I do, and that works. And the last thing, really, as I said, is like VR is one of the last thing I don't have. I mean, there's like a few other details, like FSR4 or DLSS 4, and all of that stuff that I still can't test.
Yeah.
That will come in time. But yeah, VR is one of those aspects that I would like to try. If needed, I would like to have it integrated in Lutris. But right now, it's like it's still like a nascent like technology, and
Well, you
I
need a VR headset to play with that probably some more too to get that working properly. So you said an Oculus 3 would work, or
I think
I looked at
it's one of the cheaper options. So
I've seen used. They're about $200, $250, but the Valve Index is still going for like $700, $900. I was like,
if you
wow,
want,
I did not expect that.
And that's very close to the new, like if you want a new device, that will cost you like about the same price.
That's insane. I had no idea. I figured they'd be a couple $100. They're so old now. Like,
but also you have to buy the full setup, which comes with the little stations, which you put.
Yeah, and the light
on
boxes.
yeah, and you have to put them on your living room. The Steam frame doesn't need any of that.
Yeah.
So it's a much more like lightweight device. That's the same thing for the Oculus 3 as well. I mean, it doesn't need all of those like devices around your room.
Has there been any updates on when we're going to get the new Steam products? Because I know it was delayed likely because the cost of RAM and hard drives and everything
Yeah,
else,
I mean, it was supposed to be like at the beginning of 2026. So maybe like in March or April, but I think everything has been delayed like in tech because of the storage and RAM prices. And I'm sure that the Steam frame has been delayed for the same reasons. We haven't had like any official statements from Valve like now, but I'm sure that's like what they will say is like, yeah, we can't ship any device right now because it's just like the prices are just outrageous, and they don't want to release something that would be like the price wouldn't make sense, right, for the consumers.
Yeah.
So they're just not releasing that. And this was the same problem for the Steam machine, even though they kind of admitted that the Steam machine would be like pretty expensive. But there's expensive and there's like this
over the top.
over the top prices we're getting today, which is like the RAM kit I bought like and at the end of 2023 for $200 is now like $1,000.
Have you heard? Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, like Valve can't push a device that has this kind of like markup on
Yeah.
RAM or.
I had heard they're even thinking they still kind of want to release the Steam Machine hardware in 2006, but they might not include the RAM.
I mean, that
So
would be
to make the device, the computer
yeah, but you would
cheaper.
still have to buy the RAM, and that
I
would
know,
make
so you
it
still have to
affect
put that
this
in your.
situation. So it's
I know.
Well,
So that might not be a good solution.
The solution may come from Google, of all places. So this is fresh off the press. There is TurboQuant, I believe is how it's pronounced, but this is a new training compression method designed by Google to shrink the key value cache. And this made all the headlines today because essentially it is a 6 times reduction in the number of the amount of memory that is needed to do AI because of this. And they're saying that this is such a big breakthrough. I mean, 6 times less.
Yeah, huge.
That they're saying that this could reduce the amount of memory that's now needed by these AI centers in a huge way. And this may hopefully provide some relief because one of the things that was interesting is when this news broke, Micron, Western Digital, all their stock dropped. So it's big enough.
Yeah, that's scaring everyone.
And by the way, Micron and all of you, we're going to remember you. I'm going to remember the fact you turned your back on consumers when all this happened. I will remember. I will not forget. I'm like an elephant. Jill will remind me. No, because I'm more like a goldfish. But I will remember. So there you go.
And Matthew, I wanted to say something. Isn't it cool that at the Southern California Linux Expo, they were doing active development on VR support in Proton GE? Like at the booth, at the table.
At the booth, yes, but it was kind of like limited because we still had to
interact with hundreds of people.
Yeah. So, but there was some testing going around, and like just like in the morning, just before the booth started, Segwell was like, "There, I have my Proton build for ARM. It runs Crisis. There we go. We can demo it."
It's so cool.
So that was really nice. We didn't have that. I mean, it would have been a little bit harder to demo VR because I mean you can't like really show it like to everyone. It's like one person at a time that can see that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean like maybe next year we'll have like a VR headset on demo.
Yes, that would be cool,
Super cool.
actually. And also, Matthew, I think it's really cool you were talking about the SteamOS 3.8 beta, because that one is supposed to be the one that has the support for the new Steam machines that are coming out.
There you go.
So, yeah.
And maybe thanks to Google, ooh, that hurts to say, we might be getting them sooner than later. Well, we are way over time, and our producer is now, you can't hear it, but he's in my headphones right now screaming at us. If you know Alan, you know how funny that is. Never. But a big thank you to each and every one of you for supporting us by watching or listening to Destination Linux. However you do it, we love your faces. And if you want to become a patron, go to patreon.com/destinationlinux. Help support this show here. We have lots of tiers there where you get all kinds of extra goodies, and including some hangouts that are coming now that we're getting our feet under us. Jill, we finally got our taxes done. Oh my gosh. And so a lot of cool things are headed your way. And thanks to you, because we couldn't do any of it without you, our patrons there. And of course, you got to go check out Lutris and all the amazing work Matthew's doing. And Matthew, we're going to have you back. Does it have to be exactly 30 days before we can have you back? Okay, good. Because you're welcome anytime you want. And of course, we'll have Zeb back next week. And deviantairwaves.com. Get your merch, get all of that stuff. Jill, I feel like you should just do the sign off this week.
Oh, okay. So everybody, have an incredible week. And remember that the journey itself is just as important as the destination and the people you meet along the way, like my friend, Mathieu Commendon, the creator of Lutris.
And Jill, and
my 50-50 partner of Deviant Airwaves and my esteemed co-host of Destination Linux.
Esteemed? Oh, I've never been called such before. Esteemed even. Oh my gosh, I love it. Jill, by the way, I noticed the hat, and I'm thinking you're trying to look like me, looking good with that hat.
I'm doing a Ryan today.
I like it. I am jealous of that hat. I want one of those hats. When we have them on, I'm gonna beg for one of those. All right, everyone, for real, we're out this time. Thank you so much. See y'all next week. Bye-bye.